afternoon, whenever you're listening to this, welcome to the internet's most sophisticated wrestling podcast, discussing the weekly aspects of it all, right here on
The Bald Monkeys Wrestling Podcast.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Bald Monkeys Wrestling Podcast. You know, I woke up this morning right before we decided to record this thing, and I started thinking to myself, you know what? We've been doing this, if you count, the couple weeks that we took off when I was on vacation, we've been doing this for over half a year.
No.
Yeah.
Has it been that long already?
This is episode 25. If I go week to week, then next week, officially episode 26, episode a week, 52 weeks a year.
That's pretty epic stuff, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
It's exciting.
We've only been recording it that long. We've been doing it for probably 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. I mean, we're getting there. We're definitely getting there. So, again, welcome everybody. I want to jump right into AEW and just talk about it for just a minute, because as they get closer to them being on television, there's a few things I have listed out here. Some that it seems like I remember the boss complaining about, and then interesting how maybe they heard him. And so in one of their videos they kind of talked about it, which is that obviously we have this match at Full Gear between Jericho and Cody, and it's already set up. And I think one of the complaints levied against that was, why are you already saying that is going to be a match? Why not just wait? And on one hand, the argument is, well, it helps sell the pay-per-view. On the other hand, it's like, yeah, but you haven't even had your first episode of AEW on TNT yet. And it was interesting because they had one of their road to the first episode videos. It was the second one, actually. And in that, Tony Schiavone is doing an interview with Cody, and they're talking about this match. And he makes a point, Cody does, in this interview to talk about how, well, the card is always subject to change because of the fact that AEW will be honoring wins and losses. Now, that doesn't change the fact that, the story's already kind of dictated as to who's going to win or whatever. But that being said, it's nice for them to say, okay, in this storyline, we're going to have this person go for the title, and the reason they're going for the title is a logical one, because they've been winning matches. So we wouldn't then expect to see Kenny Omega going for the main title anytime soon, because he's lost a couple times, and losers don't get a chance at the title. They have to build themselves up to win. I kind of appreciate that.
It makes sense. It's just I think you're right, though. I think it's getting ratings. It's getting buy-ins. It's the idea that they're just going to go ahead and promote the big names and start getting the fan buzz around it. And to their point, who cares? If you're promoting one match and then it changes. I mean, WWE's done that. I mean, they've had matches promoted on commercials, on local commercials, that never actually come to fruition because the card's always subject to change. So is it a little bit, I don't know, kind of big business of them? Yes, I think so, but they're a business. It's not just for fun. They're actually trying to make money. So I'm not against what they're doing.
My complaint wasn't just that. My complaint was also their big stance on not pushing the WWE people, and they kind of do.
Yeah, and they're going to. And I don't disagree with your stand. It's like, but who else are you going to push? They don't have the name recognition yet until they get on TV. So
Yeah,
quit pushing these guys.
and that's what pulled into my issue with them already announcing it, is because they haven't been on TV. Like they're brand new. They could be focusing on every little thing to build people up, but instead of going ahead and putting the first couple big championship matches with top names.
Well, what are your other? Well, I guess my question is, what are your other options? Like, what's the other option besides Cody right now?
You got a point, but that's the thing, is they've had 5 or 6 shows or little things now, and they've yet to build somebody that's independent up to be that big challenger, and they've had the time to do it already.
I think the only person at this point, and this is going to benefit Cody. This is not an argument for this person. The one person that they've brought on that kind of has a little bit of a winning streak is Pac, and he's only had one match. So it's not a good argument for Pac to get the opportunity. And honestly, on that same video, they have, or maybe it wasn't on that video, but it was a separate video. They have Pac going backstage and like basically picking a fight with Hangman Adam Page. So that is what they're building as one of the next storylines. So I don't expect Pac to be given a chance anytime soon. So I think Cody makes the most sense because Cody has basically won every match he's been in, right? Except for, well, no, I guess they didn't win against the Young Bucks, right? But I don't know.
Well, maybe that's an argument for the Lucha Brothers not being the Lucha Brothers. Like they're amazing, right? They're a lot of fun to watch, but maybe in AEW they'd make more sense as singles wrestlers if they could get them to be singles wrestlers, because it's kind of hard to understand who the top guys on the card are going to be. I don't dislike Hangman Page, but it was pretty evident that he's not a headliner. He's just not. He's upper mid card. Maybe he'll get there with a little more TV exposure, but I didn't see it in that Jericho match. And having the Lucha Brothers on your roster and having them on your show, it's almost a detriment putting them in a match together, because you're not getting them across, the card in multiple areas.
Sure. Well,
Hangman kind of reminded me of Jericho toward the beginning of his career, when he was just that mid card guy. He has tons of skill and he could get there. It's just going to take some work.
See, I'd make the argument that that's MJF, not Hangman.
I think MJF is more Jericho near his WWF start, not the beginning of his career. Like he's got that like cocky personality to it.
Yeah, either way, he's kind of awesome. And I've been watching some of his like random promos, and they're, he's got it. It just, I don't know if he's got the in-ring talent.
well, all of the matches that I know for sure that are confirmed, I only know 2 for sure. I mean, you have on your first episode of TNT, you have Sammy Guevara versus Cody. And I think the reason you have that match is to tease that subject to change issue. That was the match that was made a point basically within that interview. Another thing that was made interesting on that interview at the very end of it was Cody asks Tony Schiavone, well, Tony Schiavone, are you going to call matches with JR? And Tony Schiavone goes, I don't know. Am I? You're my boss. And Cody starts laughing, and then he looks at the camera and he starts winking like crazy, and he goes, do you see me winking? Do you see me winking? So it seems like Tony Schiavone will be taking a casting role with JR. Now, I don't know. See, I think one of the weakest things that AEW's got going for it is JR.
I agree.
He's
I was
he's
I was waiting for your stance on this, and I was hoping you'd go again. I was hoping we could argue about it, but I guess not.
No, I don't think
It's
anybody
they're
here is going to
announced.
argue about it.
No, they need to let the newer guys announce. I mean, even WWE's getting into it now. It's like let some of these newer people on the mic. I mean, yeah, it's nostalgic. It's fun every once in a while, but this consistency of the older guys on the mic, and honestly, JR's not been strong. He's been kind of almost bumbling around, which is, his shtick a little bit. But now we're gonna put old school Shivani in there too. It's like, where's Jim Cornette? You might as well just keep grabbing all the old guys and putting them on there. And again, this goes back to Steven's argument of letting the newer guys, not making the WWE guys. You're trying to use name recognition instead of doing what you said you were going to do. Bringing new names out. Giving everybody a shot. Well,
Yeah.
that includes the announcers too.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and I feel like a little bit of, you said they've been bumbling and stuff, is they've been with the big companies for so long that the smaller independent guys, and the whole way AEW functions isn't the way like WWE functions anymore. So they're not used to seeing the situation. They don't know these people. They don't know everything. They might get, a little piece of paper that says this is what they're known for, this is what they do, but a lot of them don't know them. Back in the day, JR would, when he was trying to recruit people and help people come to WWE, but that was what, 30 years ago. He's not into who these new people are and what they could do.
Yeah.
I don't know. I agree with you, Chris. I think it's a wasted opportunity for some of these other people they have. Just say, oh, we got JR.
Yeah. I mean, and the production quality. I mean, that's the other thing too. Like we had side conversations about this. Like it's you appreciate the production quality of what WWE puts out there when you start seeing some of the kind of like long pauses or mistakes being made on the AEW shows, which it's fine. Like I'm not gonna knock them for it. I'm not gonna stop watching because of it. It's just it's noticeable, and if it's noticeable to us, it's noticeable to the general public.
Sure. Yeah, but I think that's what the good thing about them having a show is, because they're going to learn very quickly about camera, about the general production of a show just by having a show every week.
There's going to be some train wrecks. There's going to be some train wrecks.
There's train wrecks in WWE right now, and we say they're the masters of it. Sometimes they mess up so bad.
Oh yeah,
and it's just like, what the heck happened?
When they showed the Street Profits backstage before they actually debuted, like on Raw, like all of a sudden they cut to an image of the Street Profits by accident. Somebody just hit the wrong button, I guess.
Yeah,
like that's most recent I've seen, but there's other items too.
Well, either way, I'm sure you guys would probably agree. It's exciting that we're getting close to having another product on television. Now, the first one we're dealing with is next week. NXT is going to be on USA next week. It's going to be a little weird at first. It's going to be like,
what's with the programming? Why are they doing it this weird way?
Well, they should have pushed it back because it has to do with Suits. Like, it has to do with the fact that the show Suits is ending, I think.
Are you serious?
Or something like that. Yeah. So I'm surprised like they didn't just say, oh, well, if that's the case, why don't we just push it back a week? But
we're getting NXT for an hour on USA.
Yeah.
And then the second hour will stream on the network. And then you will be able to rewatch the second hour on the network afterwards. Not the first hour.
Yeah.
That's my understanding.
Did they cancel 205 Live?
Yes.
That's what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah, and I'm very upset.
No, they don't. As long as they keep the cruiserweight title, it's okay.
Yeah, but they also said that they might be merging 205 Live into NXT in one of the articles that I read yesterday.
See, the one I read yesterday said Triple H said that was a done deal. So if it's not a done deal, it will be about like weeks in that 205 will become another portion of NXT.
I'm okay with that as long as they get enough time, because it might actually work, because I don't know that NXT is going to be able to put 2 hours of live wrestling on every single week. They might need 205 Live to take an hour up, and vice versa. To be honest, it might work. It's a little frustrating, the clunkiness of how they're doing this and not really announcing. It's almost like they're rushing it, which I get. They're trying to get in front of AEW.
Well, they know as well that whenever you start doing a live show, there's going to be bumps in the road. So their thought process is they want to be prepared and everything to run smoothly by the time they're directly competing with AEW, so that they have a better product while AEW is stumbling a little bit. Now, so no more 205 Live. If they just put all those people on NXT, yeah, that's one solution for it. I mean, they're all good wrestlers, so I have to imagine almost all of those 205 livers will make a name for themselves, minus the fact that there's still this whole, draft buzz going on. That is going to happen. It is actually going to be the second week that it's on Fox that's going to happen, where they do the draft, and I'm assuming it's going to be a 3-way draft with people being drafted to NXT as well.
Maybe, I don't know. Like, why? Like, why can't we just go the way we're going right now? I don't know who's on what show, and I don't care. This is perfect. I'm curious who's deciding that the draft is the right way to go, because I feel like lately the shows have been better because they're kind of moving guys around. You never quite know who's going to show up on what show. I understand there's the house show aspect of it, that you have to have a traveling house show on Mondays and Tuesdays, but I think this is the wrong direction. I think they were actually moving away from it, and now they're going to come back to it, and I disagree with the direction.
Well, I think right off the bat, they're trying to legitimize it as a sport on Fox, and the draft is part of that.
Yeah, I was going to say that. It's probably Fox saying, hey, we signed you guys to this, we got you. Now we want you to do X, Y, and Z, so that, you show that, you're more sporty than entertainment.
Which I think is a mistake.
Well, I agree.
Isn't this like, aren't we going back in time and talking about like WCW and TNT? Isn't this the same thing that got WCW in trouble, where they kept listening to the network instead of doing what they should do? Like, they kept feeding the network what they wanted. I feel like WWE is going down the same road right now.
But different.
I mean, in a way, WWE has been doing that in, I would say, the last few months with USA. I mean, USA said, hey, we want a nostalgic show, so let's get this Raw anniversary. So I mean, it's not, and I know you weren't just saying it, but it's not just because of Fox, but it's who knows. I mean, maybe they just see the writing on the wall, and not because of AEW, but just because of a lot of things that have been going on in wrestling, and their numbers are going down on TV, their numbers are going down in arenas, and they're realizing that they're not as popular as they used to be. I don't know.
I have to assume that one of the names of a wrestler that's been thrown around out there lately, who's looking to be maybe signed with AEW, but I think WWE is going to make a crazy offer to him, is Cain Velasquez. And the reason I think that they're going to get him is because they see this opportunity to hash up old legitimate fights that they had in UFC on Fox between Brock Lesnar and Cain Velasquez. Like, the last time I think that Brock Lesnar lost in the UFC was to Cain Velasquez, and he lost pretty badly to him. And so I think that they want him really bad for that, because that is a entertainment type match that's easy to put across as just a sports match, because it's actually happened.
I hate it.
I don't necessarily love it either.
Hate it. This is not what professional wrestling is. They're changing what professional wrestling is. It used to be always one little pop culture match at WrestleMania, right? Like they would always throw in something crazy or silly, Mr. T, or or Drew Carey. There's
Mike
always something
Tyson.
random. Mike Tyson, yeah, something crazy. But it's starting to be the point where they're like, oh, we have to do it all the time now. We have to get these guys that are in the mainstream culture into our rings. And I think it's losing like a lot of like the fans that really love true professional wrestling, and like us. Like I'm starting to get like really annoyed by it, where I don't even want to watch like what's going on.
Unfortunately, I think that's a societal change in, how we get our information, and that's a whole other topic. But yeah, I agree with you, Tiro. I don't like it. It's taking something that, is a real sport and now putting a storyline to it with, predicted ish outcomes and scripted, and it's not the same. And I mean, if they want to do that, that's fine. There are going to be people who are going to watch it, but it's going to be a thumbs down for a lot of the true wrestling fans.
I mean, I could point to Ronda Rousey and say, at first I wasn't excited about her. Then I saw her wrestle and I was excited, but then it really just became her name and who she was, and her trying to be UFC Ronda Rousey instead of WWE Ronda Rousey. Yeah. And I think that's a problem.
But that was also, though, because that's weird, because I think that was also one of the things that made us like her initially, was that she was a little rough, and so it made it look a little bit more real. So I don't know that realism is the problem. I don't know. I don't even think that these concepts and these ideas that they're having are the problem. I'm just like, how are you legitimately going to bring in Cain Velasquez and Brock Lesnar, a person that I don't know and I've never seen wrestle, and a person that, by all accounts, we're all pretty tired of, and actually make that fresh enough that I'm interested in it. Like, I don't know that I can agree 100% with your position, Chris, only from the standpoint that I haven't seen it yet. So I want to see the Smackdown product on Fox, and I'm not really going to take a stance on it until I just have watched it and I don't like it, or I really do like it. So I'm always going to be that person who is always pushing for, if something's if you're not using something that's under your umbrella, then find a way of using it. And if they can shake out all these different shows and find a way of really utilizing the most of their talent, and don't just hit us with that one main story over and over and over again, then I'm all for it. No matter what they do, I'm all for it. But as I always say, just be consistent.
Inconsistently consistent.
Yeah. So Raw this week. Raw was very good this week.
Why was it good?
So my favorite part, I thought I was going to hate the beginning of Raw with Stone Cold Steve Austin the most, but you know why it was the best part of Raw? Because of AJ Styles. Oh my goodness.
Because he continues to be one of the best parts of WWE.
Oh, no, I mean, I love AJ Styles as a heel. I mean, when he wants to be good on the mic, the dude is so good on the mic, and he was just trash talking. He was just trash talking Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Well, he does a good Stone Cold impression.
Oh, yeah. Man. That stuff, man. Classic stuff.
I love the whole sequence of AJ taunting the crowd with the, oh, you're going to do the what thing now? And then like everybody in MSG started doing it.
Oh, of
like
course.
Louder than they were before. It was awesome.
Oh yeah. I mean, that is what gives people like some of these heels. So we'll say AJ Styles, especially Shane McMahon, especially Baron Corbin. It's what gives them so much value.
Excuse me.
No.
Excuse me.
Don't say it, Hero. Don't say it.
King Corbin. I said it.
That's not gonna happen.
We'll see, Mr. Gable. We'll see.
Another thing that made this there were so many things. It was funny because I was talking to some other friends while I was watching this Raw, and I would like verbally just stop what I was saying to them, and I would like freak out about something that was happening on the Raw. The Tea Time versus Boss Hug Connection match was great. The women's match was great.
Well, you had your four, arguably, top four of your best wrestlers. I won't say your four best because there's some.
Yeah, it's
others
definitely
in
not
there
the
too.
four best, but it's four of.
But four
the
of
best,
your
yeah.
best, yeah.
Or definitely
you put
four of the most over. I mean, if not the four most over wrestlers. And they put a really good match together. And you know what was weird? This was the weirdest part. It's like you have these debates that we get into about whether somebody is a tag team wrestler or a singles wrestler. And I view the horsewomen as both. Like, they make some really compelling tag teams and they make really good singles wrestlers. And it's really interesting. It's very hard to find wrestlers nowadays that are good at that, because we complain so much. Like, Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins don't click as a tag team, but Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair definitely click as a tag team. But they're also pretty great on their own, when they're left to their own thing. Now, that's me saying that I'm not a huge fan of the Becky character right now, but it can be fixed. I mean, anything can be fixed. But yeah, so it's interesting how I feel like the women have that going for them where the men don't. And I think that is good for the women's division because you need all the help you can get sometimes with the booking of that. And if you want to make like the tag team division be a thing that's actually important, well, then you need to have these random like offshoot like Bailey and Sasha versus two people that they're trying to build in the tag team division up matches. Even if they lose, just to make them look strong.
I'm confused at the direction of the women's division, right? Obviously, the four horsewomen are getting pushed to the top, but
of course,
what's going on with like Lacey Evans and Natalya? I don't understand the direction of that right now.
WWE
they need a story for them. Like, is that it?
WWE Creative is like, hey, why don't we write a story for Natty and Lacey that will put them over the moon? And it doesn't work, and they're not great characters. I think Lacey Evans is an okay character. I don't know that Natty is a really good character at this point. She's just Natty. And she's
always been just Natty.
Yeah,
and Come on now, let's be honest.
Well, in Natty, she is a better than average wrestler, but I believe she's on the decline. Lacey is on the incline, but she's still rough. So it's like you have this person who's starting to dip going up with a person who's starting to rise but doesn't have quite enough experience yet. I don't know. It's just not a good. And they've had this match like 2 or 3 times at this point, and it's just not meshing very well. So if it's not meshing very well, it's like that's when you're. It's almost like they're taking my advice on the wrong storyline, right? It's like, okay, we're going to be consistent with this storyline because Big Baby Jimmy keeps complaining about it. But that's not working.
Well, again, it's the idea of what characters are we looking at? Are we looking at Natty the heel? Or are we looking at Lacey? Lacey Evans is a heel. But why is Natty like holding the sharpshooter in? Like I don't understand what heel we're trying to push there when you're having trouble right now because you just had a match with 4 people in the ring that are all heels.
Sure.
Technically Becky is acting as if she's a heel. Charlotte is a heel. Bailey is pushing towards heel. Sasha is a heel. So it's like, where's the faces anymore?
Well,
like,
no,
Ember.
But here's my thing. I don't always like that paradigm anyway of face heels. Like it's important in wrestling to have faces and to have heels and to have these good versus evil battles, but we always say, oh, well, you can't have that match because it's a face versus a face. Screw that. Of course you can. You can't have that match because it's a heel versus heel. Screw that. Of course you can. There's nothing that says you can't do it. The question is it a compelling match or not? And guess what? That women's match where they're all heels was a compelling match.
Well, no. See, it's a compelling match because there's a storyline there, not because they're heels or faces. The storyline makes it compelling. The idea that it's the four horsewomen, pitted up against each other, the two best friends or former best friends or ones that go back and forth with each other, going up against each other. I don't know that it's because they're all heels in the match, or it's just because the storyline's compelling.
Sure.
So it goes back to. I agree with you that I don't care if they're heels or faces or heels versus heels or faces versus faces, but you have to have a storyline involving in it. They tried that with Ember and Bayley, where they were both going to be faces and, competition, but there was no storyline to it. It was just a match.
You remember when we talked about, does Vince McMahon actually like Ember Moon? And there was rumors that maybe he doesn't. Yeah, he doesn't. Poor Ember Moon.
But I think it also goes back to, and I think I brought this up last week or the week before, like I feel especially with Natalya and Lacey Evans and some of the other storylines, I feel that there's no end game in sight. There's no storyboarding. There's no, okay, we're going to take this group of people and we're going to do this. And this group, it's like the dartboard effect. It's like they put 15 women on a dartboard and said, okay, this week we're going to go with you and you, and you're going to be in this type of match.
I like
it's like,
effects.
Thank you. It's sad because they do have some really good storylines, and then that seem like they have an ending to it, and then they have other things that are just a mishmash. And I think that's one of the things that I get annoyed about when I watch stuff, but it just seems just thrown like, okay, we need 2 matches tonight. Let's throw something together here.
And I don't think there's anything wrong with just throwing together a match for a wrestling show. Just make sure it's a good one.
Yeah. And if you're going to build story for it or around it, like actually build it, like put some thought into it. And build it along and get it to fruition there.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with you. I went on a rant last week about the Bray Wyatt storyline, and me being angry at them only being concerned about the couple storylines that they want to be concerned about. And that's exactly what causes that problem. I think that's the root cause of that problem. Too much investment in Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins.
Stranger danger. Stranger danger.
Yeah. So now is that sad time of the podcast where we get to listen to Chris Tiro gloat about the fact that it's not that Baron Corbin won, because I know that there's a few of us that are fine with Baron Corbin winning. Me definitely. Me and you have been very pro Corbin for a long time. But it's the fact that he won exactly the way that Chris said he was going to win.
Yeah.
Sneaky win.
Exactly. Like literally, go back and listen, folks. Listen to the last episode. Like, I think I verbatim spoke out exactly how that match was going to end. And,
you did.
It was pretty fun for me to be able to have a few days of just thinking about, man, I'm going to brag about how good that was. But in the end, I'm just happy that they're taking Baron Corbin in the right direction and giving him all that heat that he really needs and he always gets. And it's going to be great to watch him take out, Steven's boy and put that crown on and be king of the ring.
Take out who? I can't see him. He's too short. I can't see who it is.
With the short jokes.
Hey, I just, win in Rome, right? And then the thing that maybe made this episode of Raw the best, and it was a little thing, but it was so important. The Viking Raiders coming out to pick a fight with the OC. How important. How much we've complained about all these squash matches, and for them to not have a squash match and be involved. Now, I know it was a 10-man tag team match, but just to be involved with the OC, it's like, okay, this is the second time that they've come to blows with the OC. It's time. It's like, okay, we maybe finally have a story for the Viking Raiders, and they have a good opponent in the OC, and this is a good, solid match. WWE, don't screw this up.
Wait. We'll have to see what happens on Monday, though, because we've been through this before with the Viking Raiders.
This is true.
And they've had an actual match. And then on the next Monday or the Monday after that, they go back to wrestling job.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Let's see if it goes somewhere for more than just 1 week before we get all up in our feelings about it.
Well, this is where I immediately transition over to SmackDown, because they took the jobbers away from Viking Raiders
and gave them to.
And they gave them to Heavy Machinery. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? It's like, what? It's like WWE. It's the exact same argument. How many tag teams do you have? Why aren't you using them?
And Heavy Machinery has been going against tag teams for months now, and then they give them these two schmoes.
You mean schmucklacks? Or were they schmoes or schmucklacks?
No. They were definitely schmoes. They were from New York.
Hey, it was Alex Keaton. Give Alex Keaton a break, man.
Yeah. But yeah, you have a tag team that has been in matches for, a chance at the tag team titles or a shot at the titles, and now you're throwing two guys at them that were maybe 200 pounds soaking.
Hey man, the family ties is strong. I mean, not in that match, but how about when he took off his shoulder straps, and started. Oh man, Dozer.
I mean, they're entertaining. So that's the one thing that they have above the Viking Raiders in a squash match is that they goof about in the ring. So they can make they can make the match against the squash match like really, really funny. Whereas the Viking Raiders are very serious. So when they're in a squash match, it's just like, okay, well, that would have been good on their debut, but then that's all we need them. We only need them to do that in their debut and then never do that again.
Yeah. To that point, I feel like the squash match works for Heavy Machinery because they're just entertaining. And it's like, you know what? I don't know that we need them to always be in a storyline for them to come out and entertain the crowd. True. Where the Viking Raiders, it's like, I need them to be a storyline to understand where we're going with them. Yeah, they're powerful. Yeah, they do some fun stuff, but it's like, where are we going with them? Like, jumping back to Raw, they're faces now. Now we could finally say that the Viking Raiders are faces for now. To Steven's point, until next week, until we find out if they've changed back to heels or not. And the squash matches aren't working for that reason, I think, because we never quite knew, are we supposed to be excited about how much they're beating the crap out of these guys, or are we supposed to be angry at them for being so mean? Yeah. You know exactly what you're getting with Heavy Machinery squash match. You're getting fun, and we're supposed to be happy that they're squashing, family ties.
So, whereas Raw was very good, I think that SmackDown was kind of mishmashy. Like, it would be bad and then good and then bad and then good. I mean, it was all over the place. And
it started off on a bad note, in my opinion.
Yeah. It was a troll moment, right?
And they didn't even do anything with it. I think Chris and I might have been texting, about it. And like if they would have done something with the Undertaker later on in the night with Sami
Yes.
Zayn or something, like okay, then it would have come full circle, like what happened on Raw with Austin coming out, later on again. But it's like, hey, here's the Undertaker. Oh, Sami Zayn comes out. I'm gonna make fun of you and say, no, pass the torch, and then I'm gonna choke slam you, and then that's it. And there was nothing else.
Well, let's
So
talk.
it was as a flat note.
Yeah. Well,
Cheap pop.
let's talk about the elephant in the room though, because the elephant in the room is Firefly Funhouse on Monday, and having Bray Wyatt talking to his puppets, and Abby the Witch complains about the fact that her clock has, stopped at 3:16 ever since Stone Cold came to Raw. He then clobbers the clock with a hammer, and it changes to 11:19. Now, that, as just a transition to the fact that The Undertaker was going to be on SmackDown, makes sense. Just from that. And again, the reasoning behind it, Undertaker debuts November 19th. Was it? Yeah. Or
A long time ago.
Yeah, 1990, I think is what it is. And so that made sense. But see, the promo was the weird thing, because that Firefly House promo almost had this feeling like, no, the Fiend is going to attack the Undertaker.
I would have loved it.
And I got so worked up for that, because I was just like, how protected the Undertaker is, it would be so important. Like, instead of pushing, like we talked about, like whether or not Bray being in a Hell in a Cell match for the Universal title was too much too fast, and was it going to then put too much onus on him and make him like ruin himself, basically. And my thought process was, yes, that if you give him the title, it requires him to show up too much, and you then ruin the character. Now, you want to talk about something else that gives somebody a hyper push? It is attack the Undertaker, and the Undertaker can't do anything about it.
But we didn't get that.
We didn't get that. And the problem is, I don't even trust it. Because I just feel like, oh, they might let him attack the Undertaker and get the better of Undertaker, but somehow Undertaker's going to come back around and, like, make him look weak. So that is a really scary game of chicken, but I was willing for them to play it. I really wanted the Fiend to just, I thought it was going to be that way. Like, so Sammy comes out there, he's jawing off, the Undertaker kind of quickly destroys him, and then you were going to have Bray Wyatt come out as the Fiend, destroy the Undertaker, and then take the Tombstone Piledriver as one of his new moves.
But how many people do you think watching Raw on Monday actually got the reference of 11:19?
Majority of the nerdy wrestling fans.
Probably,
yeah.
The majority of the good follow, but 11:19 doesn't necessarily. I mean, yeah, it's definitely. I think it has multiple meanings. Let me put it that way. I think he took advantage of it having multiple meanings. I mean, Bray Wyatt is always trying to be provocative with his promos and what they're doing, and I'm sure he's got his fingers through all these promos. I think the Undertaker thing was a good tease for him. I don't know if he was pushing that and just figured he'd throw it in there. And then the alternative is you're talking around Survivor Series in November as well, right? So it could just mean November 2019, something's coming for Survivor Series. Or, it could mean something else entirely, like he's been able to do before, where he pretended he pulled all these quotes from years past and put it together into understanding, what the Fiend was today. There's still a chance, but I don't know. I agree. It's like they kind of missed a great opportunity on Tuesday.
And to be fair, November 19th is the SmackDown before, or no, it wouldn't be the SmackDown at that point because it wouldn't be on Tuesdays anymore.
Yeah, I just looked at that and then I was like, oh wait, no, they're not on Tuesdays at that time.
No, yeah, I
Yeah.
think I looked at those dates. I think it has to do with just the month.
Yeah,
if
so just
anything. It's
November.
not a specific date. Yeah.
Or he's just trolling everybody, which is fine. He's done it before, so.
Well, it could just be a reference to Steve Austin too, because I mean, Austin 316. Is it the Fiend 1119?
Well,
is it his own little catchphrase kind of thing?
oh, I was more inclined to just think it was just a transition of Undertaker's going to be on SmackDown. And that's why the time changed, and that's just a number that can represent the Undertaker. Doesn't mean that he's necessarily attacking him. It was just that he has this record of attacking champion or legends rather, and so I don't know. Just kind of thought it was going to happen.
But he hasn't. Like recently, he hasn't attacked anyone.
Exactly.
I don't know. Here's my thing, and this is the last thing I'll put on it, and Steven, you can echo this because I know we've talked about it in the past. It would have been great to see Bray come full circle and get the spot he should have got a while back over The Undertaker. I think there's a missed opportunity again for WWE to put this guy way over and kind of move on from The Undertaker.
100%. And I think with the character he has now and how they're doing it, it'd be the perfect situation. But to also correct you guys that he hasn't attacked anybody in a while, it's been all over online. The dark match to end the night after everything went down this week in MSG, the B team came out and Bray took out both of them, and he lingered over his brother for a while before he left the ring.
Ooh.
I did see that. Yeah, I did see that. And it was a weird, quick, dark squash match.
That's spicy.
So it was something to give the MSG crowd because you always want to do something special at MSG. But is there extra meaning behind it? Is there something where him squashing the B team is because he's gonna take his brother back, or again, like I'm hoping that this Rowan thing has somehow they're gonna salvage it by him taking Rowan back, or that's who's speaking to Rowan. But I don't know if it was anything more than just a little Easter egg for the MSG crowd. Here you go, you didn't get the Fiend live on Raw or SmackDown, so we're gonna give it to you in a dark match.
The more I think about it, the more I like that Rowan angle where he's pushing so hard to say that he doesn't do what people tell him to do. He thinks for himself, but the whole time just being a puppet for the Fiend.
It would save that storyline because I don't care how many quote unquote fans Rowan throws at a bunch of people.
That was enjoyable.
Yeah. It's not, I don't know. I'm impressed with Rowan on the mic. I'm impressed with Rowan's promos. They're actually pretty good. I don't know that I'm buying this as a long-term storyline.
Sure. Now, another big down for SmackDown was The Miz getting fed Andrade. That was confusing to me. I mean, so obviously we have this setup of like, okay, The Miz is going to face off with Shinsuke Nakamura. And so we have a match where Miz is going to be in a match with somebody, and Nakamura is going to be sitting at the desk talking to the announcers, and will eventually then confront The Miz after the match. The problem is, why the hell was it Andrade? Do any of you have a good explanation for that? Why they would use Andrade of all people? I don't know.
Because he's a good wrestler. He was in the whole. I don't know. I mean, you don't have to get Miz over or anything.
Exactly. That's the confusing thing.
It doesn't make any sense.
And I thought Andrade was somebody that, at the very least, I mean, I know he didn't win his King of the Ring match, but I don't think that his loss. I mean, when you lose a match to an underdog, in an underdog storyline, I don't necessarily think that that means you look weak. So why do you then kind of make Andrade look weak by having him immediately lose to the Miz? Oh my God, it was like I felt like it was an unforgivable moment for me.
And I wasn't sure which way the match was going to go when I was watching. I was like, okay, is Vega gonna, cheat and get the cheap win, for Andrade to hit his finisher? Is that how this is going to end? But then why would you put Miz on a downturn going into Clash of Champions to go against Nakamura? But then like that would kind of make sense, to kind of put Miz, on a back to reality kind of push, like, you're not really the all that you think you are kind of thing. But then that didn't happen. I mean, I did like the whole skirmish at that one point, when I think he threw Andrade right at Nakamura. That was cool. But yeah, it for someone that I thought was going to get a huge push, when he got into King of the Ring and then after, I mean, I don't know what they're doing with Andrade now.
All right, so I'm going to play the other side of this. I don't think it's a big deal. I think Andrade can lose matches and still we all see him as a strong competitor. He's done it in the past where he's lost matches and he still comes out and we still think, okay, he's still going to have a good match. He still could win this match. I think it's one of your old arguments, James, where you could look strong even losing matches, even when you don't look strong in a match. Because obviously he didn't look great in that match. But I'm not sitting here going, man, they squashed him, man, they're burying him. I still have confidence that Andrade is going to, be in a title picture, be in a storyline and put on good matches with good wrestlers. So I think it was a situation where the Miz needed a win going into a title match where I don't know that storyline has any legs right now and they needed to give it some legs. And the only way to do that is to have an altercation with Miz and Nakamura, and they just mixed in a good wrestler with Andrade in a match, showing that the Miz could, legitimately win a match against a good wrestler. So I have less issue with it than you guys do.
Just give him Apollo Crews, or I mean, give him Ali or something like that. Because the problem with Ali is that Ali needs.
You want him to beat? Wait a second. Whoa,
wait a second.
You're gonna beat Ali over Andrade? That's the same argument.
They can underdog Ali. That's Ali's only path is to underdog him. So Ali needs to lose for his storylines, unless they change him.
I don't know. I think you're making the same argument if you put Ali in there.
Because I'm thinking a storyline that deals with somebody like Andrade, who is somebody who cheats to win. That's not somebody that you expect to lose all the time because they should be cheating to win. So you tried to cheat to win against Gable. Ali? Well, they're doing nothing with Ali at the moment.
Well, no, but I mean, is it because Steven, you've had this angle before where you were like, oh, Ali could go heel, just getting frustrated from all the losses. Is that the angle you're talking about?
Not my angle.
It's the angle it should be.
Because that's the only way I see that Ali losing works more than you're telling me Andrade losing works.
Can Ali
to me, it's the same thing.
I don't know if Ali can be a heel.
Unfortunately, I think he would have to be a stereotypical heel, and I don't think he wants to do that.
What was up with the bad women's matches on SmackDown too? So you have Nikki Cross versus Mandy Rose. That match was awful. And then I was seeing people praise Bayley versus Ember Moon, but I didn't like it.
Well, it's the typical thing of they don't know what to do with the tag team titles except do these like half matches with people that are in the match at Clash of Champions to just kind of push the storyline a little bit. Mandy Rose and Nikki Cross are not a good meshing match, right? There's probably not a lot of chemistry there, even though they were both in NXT at the same time.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Nikki Cross needs a very specific type of wrestler to work with to make her look, crazy and strong. And Mandy needs somebody who could take a move really well, because honestly, a lot of her moves aren't spectacular. So it wasn't a good matchup as far as putting together. You would have been better off putting Bliss and Mandy, or Bliss and Sonya in there, and keeping Nikki out of it, because Nikki actually works better as a tag wrestler at this point.
Yeah, well, I think that's all she can do as a singles wrestler. She just doesn't make sense. She's not intimidating enough. I mean, she overly tries to be intimidating with the personality of the character, but I don't think it does enough to outweigh how tiny she is.
Well, let's make the argument for why is Alexa Bliss tiny, but a more legitimate character and wrestler than Nikki Cross. What's the difference between the two?
Personality
and wrestling ability. I think
do you think so?
It's close, right? But I think there's just a couple more high value moves that she does than Nikki does. Some of the stuff she does off of like the top turnbuckle is a little bit more complex, looks a little bit better. Ability to fake the arm injury thing is always a good little shtick that she does.
But just think about how much more legitimate Bliss is than Nikki Cross. How much more? I mean, how many times has she won the championship? I mean, that's the thing. It's like the little things like that are paying off big time.
The sleazy heel thing, she's got that going for her too. Nikki Cross is just like, I'm going to beat you because I'm, crazy psychotic. Alexa Bliss is going to beat you because she's going to manipulate the situation and manipulate the win. And that's why it feels more legitimate, I think.
But do you feel like they took Cross as like the crazy psychotic wrestler and now have turned her into like a crazy goofy sidekick?
Sort of.
Yes.
I mean, now we say this now, but could it be in 2 or 3 months like we finally get Nikki Cross to turn on Bliss, because Bliss is now like out to get her or to make her seem like a little person, or as the sidekick or as a goof? Are we gonna get that kind of storyline at some point? Because that's where I thought it was going like a month or two ago.
Yeah, the Mickey James storyline, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's a question of whether we like them as a tag team or not, whether they're working as a tag team or not. Because the less that they're working as a tag team, I would expect that storyline to happen. But if they're okay, if they can make it work, then I don't see a point in breaking them up when that's what you need. You need ammunition for the women's tag division.
You know what the women's tag division needs? And it's going to get kind of like nauseous. They need the Iconics back. They desperately need the Iconics back on television, and they need them to be what they should have been the whole time, is those sleazy heels stealing matches that they all of a sudden started doing right before they dropped the titles. So they need the Iconics back, and they need them fast. But the problem is you don't have any face tag teams right now. So who's going to be the ones that they're cheating, against to win? Because DeVille and Rose are heels. Nikki and Alexa are on the cusp. They kind of go back and forth a little bit. And then where are the other tag teams? Do we even have any other tag teams right now?
I was thinking, if they're not going to properly utilize Ember Moon, why not just put her in a tag team? Have her swap out with Asuka, and have her with Kairi Sane.
Oh, thank you. The Kabuki Wars. I totally
the Oriental Express.
Yeah.
Yeah. What happened to them?
Well, they don't have matches apparently.
This great women's division that we don't use any of the wrestlers.
But I think that makes a little bit more sense, don't you? I mean, have Ember Moon with You know, or you could have Ember Moon with Naomi if you want to have an all-black tag team. That might be interesting.
That's racist.
That's anti-racist. What are you talking about?
You already have the two Asians together. That's too much.
Oh, that's racist. That's called projection, Chris. So last couple things we got going on SmackDown. Kofi Kingston whoops on Randy Orton.
Boo.
MSG pushing that storyline one last time before Sunday.
I like how the original table that they were on broke before they did anything, and then Kofi had to get another table.
Yeah.
Cheap pop. They took a really cool moment from back in the day and tried to just get some pop out of it by doing it again. It fits the storyline, but boo. They should have did something different and said Kofi, made a new memory at MSG, not history repeats itself.
I love how Orton brings up the fake Jamaican accent all the time.
It was very fake, but I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting feud that I'm wondering now that Kofi is standing tall before the pay-per-view. Is this going to be finally it where Kofi drops the belt?
Maybe. I was thinking about that. I'm starting to create an argument in my head for Kofi actually dropping the belt to Orton, but I'm not sure. We're not quite at the picks yet, so I'll keep brewing on it a little bit. So the last thing in SmackDown was King of the Ring, and it spanned over the course of the whole show. The storyline did. Shane McMahon comes, says, "Hey, we're not going to give you the pass. We're going to find you an opponent because we know that's what you would want. We know that you would want to, have a good opponent to beat before you just go straight to the finals of King of the Ring." Well, Shane then comes back and says, "Okay, we found your opponent, and it is an opponent that Elias, personally picked and personally approves of." He walks out, and then he walks right back in. And he stands in front of him. "It's me. I'm going to be your opponent."
Did we collectively predict that?
That was me.
It was me. I think we kind of talked about it.
I think everybody did.
It was me at the very, very, very beginning of everything, of all the picks. I questioned that at the very beginning. Before we made any picks in King of the Ring, I asked on the podcast, is there a chance that Shane McMahon puts himself in the King of the Ring? Now,
you also picked Ali to win, so you're
get him, Steven.
Let's be very clear. I am pretty much over on my King of the Ring picks. I picked it awful all the way through. I've been wrong every step of the way, and that's gonna make Chris really sad because I'm gonna end up picking his boy to win King of the Ring. And that means that Gable's probably going to win King of the Ring.
I don't know, James. You
Chris
did
was
get
smart,
5 out of
Gable.
the first round right.
Okay. Well, there you go. And then
I
I got
picked
nothing
Gable.
else. And I got nothing else right.
Yes, that is completely true. You have not gotten one pick right.
Isn't that
since,
crazy?
The last first round match.
So there you go.
It seems pretty normal to me. Yeah.
Oh wow. But so I can hang my hat on the fact that I had a good prediction early on about Shane McMahon entering himself in the King of the Ring, and then I can't put my hat on anything else because every other pick was wrong, including the Shane McMahon pick. Because not only did I think he was going to insert himself, I thought for sure that he was going to win. Yeah. And I thought that would have, next to King Corbin having King of the World, either one of those is the right way of doing King of the Ring. Because I just think it's the best storyline. Because at the end of the day, Chad Gable wins King of the Ring. Who cares? The next day, who cares?
I care.
Okay, you care, but what is the story that you build off of that?
You give him a push.
A push to
He's
what?
the new Kurt Angle. He made Shane tap out. He's slowly introducing Angle's moves.
So you're gonna have him go up against who? Braun Strowman? Seth Rollins?
Make him tap out.
Or
Make him tap out.
depending on what show he's even put on. I mean, he's gonna be immediately transferred to another show within a month. So it's like, you know, AJ Styles.
You can get behind Ali getting this massive crazy push where he gets a WWE Championship match within 3 months of being on the roster, but you can't get behind maybe the idea of Gable getting a push.
Yeah, exactly.
Favoritism.
Okay. Okay.
You're no better than Shane McMahon.
Okay, Chad Gable favoritism. Get the hell out of here.
I did love the KO angle on the whole thing of, okay,
Sure.
I'm gonna screw Shane right away with the quick count, and then it was like, whoa, bro, what are you doing? And then it was like, okay, well, I guess I gotta be on Shane, and then Shane screwed himself by tapping out, and Kevin Owens is like, well, there's nothing I can do about it. You tapped.
And then he's fired.
Yep, to go to NXT.
Yep,
Possibly.
that tweet that he had, he tweeted 3 numbers, and if you just match them to the alphabet, it comes out as NXT.
It's a little bit too easy, isn't it?
I don't know.
He should have just tweeted NXT. Like, like the numbers, like they're just silly at that point.
What's going to happen is he's going to sign with NXT. He's going to have his debut, and then the next week he's going to get drafted to Raw or SmackDown.
Ugh, I hate the draft. It was good like the first 2 times, and ever since then it's been like, who cares? The first 2 times when they were like doing all those crazy like drafts like back and forth, where like I think at the beginning of the show, like John Cena got drafted to one show, and by the end of the show he got drafted back to the other show. Like it's silly at this point.
I actually think I tweeted when I saw that NXT thing. I tweeted, like at Adam Cole, at Kevin Owens. I'm like, hey, Kevin Owens, it's time to join Adam Cole in Undisputed Era and take over NXT.
They're already about to take over NXT when our last title comes to Undisputed.
Now, what are your thoughts on this though? What if KO came to NXT and he confronted the Undisputed Era, and then Adam Cole welcomed him with open arms, and they immediately turned on Roderick Strong?
I'd be okay with it. I don't know. I don't think it's necessary. I think it's kind of cheap turn, because it's like Roderick Strong is finally like getting a decent push here with Velveteen. I think they'll have a good match, and I don't know that you need that. I think you could insert KO into a different storyline rather than that. I don't even like him with Undisputed other than just like a quick cheap pop and then move on. Because if you keep him in there, it's going to take away from how good that faction is without him.
Sure.
They'll do it like they did with him inside of the New Day. Well, it'll be a week or 2, and then he's going to want the belt, so he'll turn on him and take out Adam Cole, if they put him in there at all.
Yeah, it might just be another one of those teases that really never come to fruition, kind of like the Bray Wyatt thing, them just trolling us for the most part. I mean, I saw some social media out there with Ciampa like getting closer and closer and closer, and even him on KO's Instagram or Twitter or whatever. Like that Ciampa might be, getting back in the ring soon too.
Yeah, absolutely.
That'd be an interesting duo to put together.
Yeah, it might happen. But I think, Johnny Gargano isn't going anywhere either.
For life, which I thought was weird, but whatever.
He'll get drafted.
You think so? Because don't you think Gargano makes sense on NXT?
Yeah.
He makes sense, but the more I think he's playing into whole, I don't want to be on this main roster. They're calling it "We Are the Main Roster" crap. They're gonna pull him.
I don't know. I I think you could end up doing that storyline with like 12 different guys on NXT, where they're trying to be just NXT and you pull them off. But wouldn't it make more sense to just go ahead and run this NXT's the third show idea, especially for the ratings?
But then does it turn into how they had ECW as their third show?
Oh,
turn it into
blasphemy!
complete horse
Don't
shit.
even. Ugh, ugh.
It wasn't real ECW though. That's why that didn't work.
Steven, that was a good, terrible point.
No, I don't
hope
think
that
it.
doesn't
I
happen.
don't think it was. I don't think it was a good point. Only from the standpoint of like you're talking about a product that you can't duplicate. You could never duplicate. Like NXT is its own original product that they've built. They tried to recreate ECW, and the reason that it didn't work was because you can't recreate ECW if you're not willing to go all the way.
ECW PG.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
I want to go back to something that we talked about with Gable
Sure.
about him
Oh,
pulling in all the
ring.
No, he's stupid. No, because he's not. Because King Corbin will. Him like introducing more and more Kurt Angle moves. They missed a huge opportunity.
Huge.
With Kurt Angle being Gable's father, and they even missed a huge opportunity with Kurt Angle recently in real life adopting a new kid, where they could have easily just made it Gable, where they could have just played off of that and been like, I adopted a new child. The Angle family's bigger, and just showed him and Gable in a picture. Like, just missing opportunity after opportunity for this guy to get a huge push as Kurt Angle's illegitimate son. Disappointed in you, WWE. I'm disappointed.
That's why they're gonna have him win King of the Ring and Kurt Angle come out to put the crown on.
I think that would be a great idea for Kurt Angle to come out and put the crown on King Corbin. I mean, he was the one who beat him at WrestleMania, so
I think they start the night with Angle being the person who's going to announce it, and since Corbin was the one who gave him his last match and then to be a loss, that it becomes a personal thing, and maybe even Angle distracts Corbin and Gable picks up the win.
we're gonna have to put some kind of money on this or something. I'm a little disappointed that this match is happening on Monday. What's the deal with that?
Very, very, very
matches.
Yeah, they pulled it the other day. It would have given them, if they kept it on Clash, it would have given them 12 matches that night.
All right, so
they do appreciate.
I got an idea. Let's remove the Roman Reigns Eric Rowan match and put the King of the Ring match on the pay-per-view.
We've got a winner, folks.
You can't have a pay-per-view without Roman Reigns. You know that, right?
I can have a pay-per-view without Roman Reigns. Apparently they can't. It's Clash of Champions. So King of the Ring would be one of the quote-unquote champions matches, right? So why is that not on King of the Ring? It should be every title is defended, and if King of the Ring is a title, which it should be, that should be on the freaking pay-per-view.
Chris, you're speaking the truth, man.
Is if the Fiend gets involved in that Eric Rowan match, is all forgiven?
No, because the King of the Ring deserves. We love King of the Ring. We were so excited when they announced it was coming back, and now everything they've done good about King of the Ring is now going to go to the crapper because they're going to not even show it on a pay-per-view. They're going to show it on Monday night, and it's going to get buried by the NFL football, even if it's a crappy game.
Well, Clash of Champions, ladies and gentlemen. It is Sunday. Therefore, we must make picks. So
and Jimmy must pick wrong.
And I must pick very wrong. So the order today, let's do Chris first.
Damn it.
What do you want to be? You want to be last?
No, I'll go first. That's fine.
Followed by Steven, then Chuck, and then I'll pick. Unless somebody else would like to call the matches out, and I don't have to pick last.
No, it's fine. Go for it.
Okay. I just give myself ample opportunity for you to steal my storylines, right? Like, because we do this all the time where we try to get really specific, and if you go first and you nail that storyline, you'll always hear the other person go, "Ah, that's what I was gonna say. You stole my thunder." So, ample time to steal my thunder, boys. Okay, so in the order in which it will probably happen. Oh, I've got thunder. You just can't hear it because it's really, really, really far away, and yeah, it's very like unfrightening. First match probably of the night, probably on the pre-show. Drew Gulak versus Humberto Carrillo, versus Lince Dorado. Carrillo.
Obviously, I love the 205 Live guys or the NXT guys, whatever you want to call them at this point. It'll be a good match. They've been pushing Carrillo. They've been pushing Dorado a lot. Dorado almost like going heel. But I think this is still Drew Gulak. I don't think, again, these two guys are strong enough storyline-wise to take it away from Gulak. He's the better champion right now for everybody to be chasing. So, Gulak.
I agree, Gulak.
And I agree, Gulak.
And for the quad, Gabba, 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 Gulak.
Lost his mind.
Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross versus Fire and Desire.
I love tag team wrestling. I hate this match because I don't like the storyline that we've built to get to it. That being said, I think it's a good way to break up Bliss and Nikki Cross and give the belts to Deville and Rose. Not because I think Rose deserves it so much, but I really do think Sonya Deville deserves a run with a title and deserves a run with a main card storyline. So I'm going to give it the change of champions at Clash of Champions.
Once again, I agree, but mainly just because I don't think Nikki and Alexa should be a team. It never really clicked for me. I've just been waiting on Alexa Bliss to turn on her, and the fact that they gave them the belts to prolong it just annoyed me.
I'm also going to agree because I'm going to go with what I was talking about before about the two, just like what Steven was saying, that one of the two Bliss is going to turn on Cross. This could be a good change for that storyline to go and split them up and to have them go against each other and Nikki Cross not be the goofy sidekick. So yeah, I'm going to go with Rose and Deville.
So I'm not picking based on storyline that I think is going to happen, more on healthiness of healthiness of storylines. So storylines that may not be storylines yet, but how can you make it the most healthy thing possible? How can you make the women's tag team division the healthiest as possible? Give it to a tag team that's actually a tag team. And that would be Fire and Desire. So I also am picking Sonya Deville and Mandy Rose.
I mean, they have a name. That means they're exactly. a legitimate tag team.
I know, right? I mean, that's all it takes. Next we have the New Day versus the Revival.
Revival are what tag team wrestling needs to be, and the Revival are going to win the tag team champions at Clash of Champions.
And here's where we disagree. I think it's a good match, and the New Day pull it off in the very end.
See, I have a theme to my picks, and this is where it begins. So,
see, me and you are online, Chris. We're online. Go ahead, Chuck.
Uh, I see what Chris is teasing, and I half agree with him. But I'm gonna pick the New Day on this.
I am picking the Revival probably 100% for the same reason that Chris is, but we're going to wait till we get to that match for him to reveal it. And then if I disagree, I'll disagree then. So, yep, even split there. Next tag team match. Oh my gosh, what a match. Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman versus Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. Oh.
So let's just point out that we actually have 3 tag matches on a pay-per-view. That's exciting.
That's good.
Let's also point out that there are no actual tag teams in this match. There are 4 individuals acting as 2 tag teams in this match. And I don't necessarily see it making sense for the titles to change hands. I think it's a better storyline to keep it on Braun and Seth because they're going to obviously fight later on in the night, and it's going to be a better way to prolong that storyline by forcing them to still be tag partners, tag champions after they have a match with each other. So I think they're going to retain.
Now it's just becoming a trend with us. I think you're wrong. I think they're expecting one of them to screw the other one over. I think they actually are trying to prevent that, and that helps Ziggler and Rude win kind of connivingly. Like they're using the 2 of them against each other because they're trying to do their best not to cause the other one to have an issue because their match later on, and it ends up blowing up in their face. And I hate the finish. I hate for a belt to change on the finish, but it'll be a roll up to Seth Rollins.
Roll up of death.
Man, I don't know. As a believable tag team, I believe that Rude and Ziggler could be a tag team. I really like both of those guys as singles wrestlers. And I agree with Chris and I agree with Steven, but I think I agree more with Steven. I'm going to go with like something's going to happen between Rollins and Strowman. It's going to cause friction in the match. One is going to be mad at the other because they did something to lose the match. And it's going to go and, train wreck into their, their championship match later in the night. So I'm going to go with a change in the title and go with Rude and Ziggler.
There was this interesting moment. I don't know if it might have been this past Raw or maybe it was the Raw before. And they're backstage and they're interviewing Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman. And Braun Strowman, he talked so highly of being tag team champions with Seth Rollins. He's like, I respect the tag titles and I respect you as my tag team partner and I want to defend it and I want to be the best. However, that's not going to stop me from kicking your ass for your Universal title. And I think that storyline with that one interview is so much more compelling than transitioning those tag titles off to Ziggler and Rude, who I actually think they should keep them together and keep them as a tag team because, to your point, Chuck, I think they're kind of a believable tag team at this point. I can kind of buy into them. But because of that makes that storyline a little bit more interesting, and I agree with Chris that, you can... as frustrated as I was, it's interesting, as frustrated as I was with that storyline, if you can keep it civil and have them, like, still constantly defending the tag titles, but then constantly being, fighting each other for that main title is interesting for at least a little while. So I'm going to go with that. Apparently I'm tied to Chris's hip. I'm picking Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman.
I don't know. I kind of want to change my pick now because I think Jimmy just like kind of, I don't know. And I'm changing my pick. I'm going Rollins and Strowman because of Big Baby Jimmy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Steven's on an island.
He's he's that lonely island. Yep.
Which just means that's a point I'll get that you guys don't.
There you go. Congratulations ahead of time for that, by the way. Next match, AJ Styles versus Cedric Alexander.
Man, this could be a good match.
Mm-hmm.
Like this could potentially be the match of the night. These two are great in-ring performers. I think AJ is gonna bring the best out of Cedric. It's hard for me to pick this one. I could see AJ putting over Alexander and Alexander getting a huge push out of this, but I could also see him putting him over without dropping the title. So essentially winning, but Cedric looking amazing, almost getting the win, and taking this and riding it into a bigger storyline, a bigger push. Maybe even a storyline that continues with AJ Styles. So I'm actually going to keep the belt on AJ. I hope it's not cheap. I kind of want it to be a clean finish, but I could see AJ maybe cheating in some way to still win. But either way, I think he's going to hold the title.
I think it's going to be a great match. I think AJ tries to cheat. He has like the OC come out. And then as they get thrown out of ringside, AJ turns around to that backbreaker and loses the belt.
Man, we're just on a different page today, Steven. Woo.
And from how I feel you're going to pick the rest of this card, we might stay there. Which you're siding with James a lot, so that should tell you that you're wrong.
Yeah, I'm pretty much screwed, but I'm also trying to make sure I get this Baron Corbin pick right.
That's not
getting all the wrong ones out now.
That's on Raw, so just that's.
I know
we got to pick it though. We will pick it though.
I'm fine getting everything wrong on Sunday if I get that one right on Raw.
Yeah, I think this has been a great little rivalry between Styles and Alexander. I really like the matches that they've had so far. I'm gonna side with Tiro on this one, and I'm gonna go AJ retains the title, and I do hope that there is some sort of OC interference that brings out my boys, the Viking Raiders.
There you go. I like that.
Isn't this just Ricochet's storyline with AJ Styles?
Kinda.
Is it the same storyline?
Well, you know them. They're not good at doing anything unique.
We haven't had that big slap in the face backstage yet, though. So,
AJ Styles versus Cedric Alexander. Goodness gracious, this is a hard match to pick. So what I think they should do is have Cedric Alexander win. What I almost know they're going to do is have AJ Styles win, but I'm still going to pick Cedric Alexander. So I'm sorry, Steven, you're losing points there, since apparently I can't pick.
Yes.
Cedric Alexander is going to win this match because I think him as a United States champion doing a few, you can run him doing like the Open Championship type of deal and have him face some very interesting opponents, have some very crazy close matches, and really give him a good push with it. And I think he deserves it. He's a really good wrestler. Okay. Next is Shinsuke Nakamura versus The Miz.
Pass.
Don't care about the match at all.
I kind of don't. Like, I feel bad because I love the Intercontinental title, but this match is like, all right, I guess Sammy's going to come out with Shinsuke. So one of two things could happen. Sammy's either going to cost Shinsuke the match because he's going to try to help him and end up like screwing up, or Sammy's going to help Shinsuke win the match by distracting the Miz. I'll go with Shinsuke retaining. It's too early for him to drop the title in this run that he's got, so I'll pick Shinsuke.
I like The Miz. I've always liked The Miz as IC champion. I think it just gives it a little bit more credibility to it, and he shows that he cares about the belt itself. I'm going.
But and I'm just gonna argue not because we picked differently, but because I honestly think isn't the Miz as the Intercontinental Champion a heel? That like heel Miz is the one that really made the Intercontinental title what it was, like how great it was, not this
Yeah,
Miz.
but at the same time, he's also, I think, he's one title reign away from tying Jericho and two from passing him. And they're trying to get rid of the legacy of Jericho because of AEW.
Ooh, it's a good argument.
Yeah, can't argue that.
That's a great flipping argument.
Chuck?
Not gonna give a crap about this match, but I'm gonna pick the Miz because.
And there's the title of the episode.
I was like, I thought he was going AEW on us, Chris. Naga. All I have to say is this: knee to face is not happening because the Miz is going to win.
Oh wow! I ended up on an island on that one.
Yep. Roman Reigns
I guess I'll get that one right.
versus Eric Rowan in a no disqualification match.
Is there any reason for Rowan to win this match? Is there any reason for them to prolong this storyline unless we get the Fiend? Unless it's this great storyline where the Fiend is actually the one talking to Rowan and the one making Rowan do all these terrible things. Unless you let Roman Reigns win this match and you immediately go into the new feud with the Fiend, which I'd be all for also. So those are my two ideas. I have to pick one. I'm going to go with Roman Reigns winning and them starting a feud with the Fiend after it with Roman Reigns being in the ring. The lights go out, Fiend jumps him, and that's how it ends.
I don't think that'll happen. I don't think they're going to put the Fiend in this at all. I also have lost the care for this whole story weeks ago. Just for the sake of being different, let Rowan win.
Just for the sake of being different. I love that pick.
Well, I hope that the Fiend comes out or that is somehow involved in this match. But I'm going to pick Roman Reigns.
Chuck didn't pick himself?
Yeah, I know. Well, I did trim the beard up a little bit this past week, so it's a little bit shorter than it was.
He's not quite the measure of a man as he once was.
True.
Plug for the shirt. Thanks.
Yep, there you go.
The beard of doom.
See, so here's the storyline that we're forgetting about. The Fiend's not going to be involved in this storyline. That's a pipe dream. It would be cool, but
it is.
Never have we ever been right about, one of these storylines where Bray Wyatt comes out and takes back his people. It's just never going to happen. The obvious story is that everything that we've seen between Eric Rowan and Daniel Bryan has been a ruse for the cameras. And that, in fact, they're both actually on the same page. And Daniel Bryan's going to screw over Roman Reigns, and Rowan's going to win.
Which, I hate that because it's so right. And that's what we I don't think any of us have been picking that way or talking about it that way because it's just such an obvious storyline.
Yeah. Well, I think that is the direction. And I think it's like, again, has to do with that whole, this is our show. This is our yard. It was me, Roman, the whole time. So yeah, I'm gonna say that Rowan wins, and from a direct result of Daniel Bryan costing Roman Reigns the match. Move on to Bayley versus Charlotte Flair.
Charlotte in Charlotte. I mean, the crowd will be all over it if she is able to win the title again. So I'm gonna go for the cheap pop and pick Charlotte Flair.
And I'm going to go for Sasha Banks getting involved and costing Charlotte the match so Bayley retains to get that nice heat.
I'm going to go with Charlotte here.
Apologize, Steven, because I think you're 100% right. And the reason I'm picking this way specifically is because I want to de-title both of the members of Tea Time. So I know that Charlotte doesn't have a title, but I want to dethrone the title off of Becky as well, because I think that Tea Time is a legitimately hot thing that they need to jump all over. And I think the tag team match proved that on Monday, that can be a really, really solid thing. And I would love to see the more, I know, like, I don't know that I would call Becky Lynch a heel per se, but, Charlotte's definitely a heel, but I figure they might transition her back. So I'm gonna pick Bayley to win this match. Next match is Becky Lynch versus Sasha Banks.
So I'm going to go with the man in this match, and it's going to be similar to what we just talked about, where Bayley is going to end up interfering in the match, and she's going to actually cost Sasha the match by accident, which is going to lead to them just feuding with each other, which we should have been doing for a long time now anyway. So I'm picking Becky.
Oof, this one's a tough one. I think you get the whole interference angle, but I think Sasha wins pulling the tights somehow. She wins dirty, and that sets up for a Survivor Series to be a tag match for both women's championship matches, titles. Tea Time versus the Boston Hug, and whoever wins gets the women's belts at Survivor Series.
I'm gonna go with Becky Lynch on this one, given Lynch and Charlotte both belts for a little while.
See, what's important to remember is that Sasha Banks and the WWE just went through a rough patch. But WWE knew that it was important to get Sasha Banks back on the roster and get her happy. Her winning this title is part of her being happy. So that's me going into real world stuff away from just storylines. So that is why Sasha Banks is going to win the title from Becky Lynch. And I love the idea, Steven. I think that's great. So that just adds to, me thinking that that's the direction that they're going to go. Next match, Kofi Kingston versus Randy Orton.
Okay.
Here it is.
So here's the big one. Will Kofi Kingston hang on to his title again? Will he continue to look strong as a champion? Will he continue to defy the odds against Randy Orton? No, he will not. Because Randy Orton and the Revival will stand at the end of Clash of Champions above the New Day with all 3 titles in the air. Randy Orton wins the title.
You're wrong. Sorry. Just the whole premise of what you just said was wrong. Kofi wins. Kofi wins clean. And then after the match, he's celebrating, and Lesnar comes out and annihilates all of the New Day to set up Lesnar going for the...
Damn
for
you,
them going to
Steven.
SmackDown on
It's
Fox.
so right.
Damn you, Steven.
It's so
Damn
right.
you, Steven. Damn you, Steven. That's really good.
I'm gonna go
When
with.
did you become Italian?
I'm gonna go with this guy they call Randy Orton. He's gonna win this match, and then he's gonna celebrate with a bowl of pasta.
That's the name of
Terrible
the
accent.
episode. Oh man.
If anything, I'm here for like a little bit of comedic interlude between stuff.
See,
You know I'm right.
I've-
You know I'm right.
I'm well, of course. Hey, this is a storyline we've been talking about long before today. Brock Lesnar coming into the SmackDown picture. Like, we've been talking about this for a while. So, of course I agree with you. I was thinking that's where actually Chris was going, cuz I wasn't making the I view the Orton revival kind of thing as kind of just a temporary situation. It might even be involved in that last match where the revival tries to come out, but then the New Day come out and then they, stifle them. I could definitely see that being a spot. But it was always supposed to kind of run that way. Like, that's where I thought Chris was actually going to go with it. I thought he was going to talk about, okay, Orton, Kofi, really, really crazy match that Kofi wins, but he barely gets through it. And you have these 6 people, and they're just beating the hell out of each other at the end of the match. And why not just have Brock Lesnar come down and beat the shit out of everybody?
I'm holding that for SmackDown because I think Kofi can come out at SmackDown and talk about, he wants the title back, he wants a rematch, and you could throw Brock into the mix, and you might get Randy Orton when SmackDown comes out. I'm actually going a different direction than putting Kofi on top when it gets to Fox.
Well, either way, I'm picking Kofi. So, last match of the night, Seth Rollins versus Braun Strowman. I'm going to allow Steven to pick this one first because he's got to go. Steven?
Sorry, you broke up there for a second.
Last pick, Seth Rollins versus Braun Strowman. Go ahead and make yours.
Honestly, I want Strowman to get it. I think it's about time he gets a big belt. And I think Strowman versus The Fiend is more entertaining to me than The Fiend versus Seth Rollins.
I just think it's something where we can continue the Seth Rollins, Braun Strowman storyline with Seth as the champion. It'd be interesting if there's some kind of interference. It's going to be interesting if they let Seth pin Braun clean, because there's not many times that he gets pinned clean. So I'm going to go with Rollins. I haven't quite put together what's going to happen, if he's going to pin him clean, if he's going to get a cheap roll up. I can't see him rolling up Braun Strowman. So it's almost like there needs to be some kind of interference. Maybe you bring back out Dolph Ziggler and Robert, and they interfere in some way, and that's how Braun gets knocked out so that Seth can pin him. But I'm gonna go with Rollins any way you look at it.
Yeah, I'm going with Rollins as well. I don't think they're gonna give the big man the belt right now, if at all. Maybe. I mean, who knows? But yeah, I'm gonna go with Rollins on this.
I'm a little torn with this one because the problem is that thing where they talked about Bray challenging whoever wins at Hell in the Cell, and I really don't like that, because how can you have the Fiend lose? And I really don't like it against Braun Strowman in particular. I just don't know that that's a good idea. So I don't know that there's a right pick, because whoever he goes up against, it's like, how can you have the Fiend lose? You really can't. So I'm going to say the winner is going to be Braun Strowman, because I like the storyline of, them remaining tag team champions, but the belt bouncing between them. And then I'm just going to pray that they push that thing under the rug with the Fiend.
Yeah, I feel like it's a ruse. Like it's just a way to put him up there, but I don't know that it's exactly what they're gonna do with the Fiend. I think they'll hopefully, like you said, push it under the rug and just move on to a different storyline. Maybe he'll come out and just jump somebody unexpectedly. Like, who's to say that he doesn't come out and jump Randy Orton Sunday after Randy Orton wins the title?
That's what he should do.
Yeah, and now the Fiend has a feud with Randy Orton, and you were thinking it was going to be Hell in the Cell versus Braun Strowman or Seth Rollins, but it's actually Hell in the Cell, Fiend versus Randy Orton.
Yeah, but I don't think he should have a title. I think Kofi should win. They should celebrate and they should leave, and then Broken Down Orton should get attacked by the Fiend.
I'm good either way. Well, I'm obviously better if I get my pick right, but I'm good either way.
It's interesting picks.
I like the Fiend and anybody else in a Hell in a Cell match, and not up for a title.
Yeah, I think going for a title is such a bad
idea.
Anybody
else? I don't know about anybody else, but yes, like other people. I don't want to see the Fiend and Bobby Lashley.
Well, when I say anybody else, I mean anybody else that makes sense. I hope the WWE does not do the dartboard effect with the Fiend.
Alex Keaton.
Yes, love it.
So the last thing we have to pick is King of the Ring. Steven has left, but I can tell you right now he's choosing Chad Gable. So that's no surprise.
I have not left, and I can tell you right now I am choosing King Corbin.
I hate this match with every ounce of my being. But I'm going to go and side with Mr. Chris here and go with King of the Prom, Baron Corbin.
Man, how many epic matches for this did we have on the board? There were going to be so many epic matches for the King of the Ring, and we ended up with Baron Corbin versus Chad Gable.
I think the epic matches could have been in the bracket. They could have kept them in the bracket. They just put everything in the wrong spots.
Yeah, I'm
not upset about the end here. This is a good 2 at the end, because you could get a huge heel and a huge underdog and have a good match. But I agree that there was other matchups that they could have taken advantage of. They didn't.
Chuck, did you write these picks down?
Oh, I did. I have to try to keep my pick championship winning ways going for a third pay-per-view.
So I have a question, because can you tell me, based on glancing at my picks, how many heels and how many faces I picked?
Yeah, hold on, let me add that up.
I thought you were gonna ask, could you tell how many I'm gonna get right and wrong?
No.
Yeah.
All of them wrong.
Hold on, let me take a look.
Lately it's all of them wrong.
Well, I did something different this week, and I'm definitely picking with not exactly what I normally would pick as far as a good storyline goes, but what I think WWE will do with their terrible writing. Sometimes I just expect terrible writing, and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna pick weird, terrible writing.
Yeah, I only picked with my heart one time, and that was Cedric Alexander. I think every other pick was me trying to logic it out, but at the same time, I logic myself out of right picks all the time.
I like Cedric Alexander in that match if you didn't have this Braun Strowman Seth Rollins thing going on, because if Cedric takes the belt off of AJ, you could have easily pushed AJ into a Rollins feud, but
It's not too late
because
after
Strowman,
triple
yeah,
threat
it's just
match.
because this whole yeah, that wouldn't be terrible. It's just the whole Strowman thing. It makes it hard for you not to include Strowman in that as well.
So my quick one-off question would be, I know we talked about this before with the Four Horsemen. We're going with both Bayley and Banks being heels, correct?
I would say so, yes. In this,
I don't know. It's tough because technically I would say Charlotte's a bigger heel than Bayley.
I agree.
well, we can go with that. That's fine. I'm just looking for a
Yeah.
rough count.
But then, yeah, Sasha's definitely a heel.
This is obviously determining who I pick for King of the Ring.
So right now I have it 5 face, 5 heel, in my opinion. With I'm not
Good
sure.
luck picking now.
I'm not sure with which side Gulak goes on because I don't really watch 205 Live all that much.
Gulak's a heel.
So then it's 5 face, 6 heel.
Well, it's close, and because it's close, and because I know I'm going to get a couple of these wrong, probably on both sides, then it's important that we roll out the royal red carpet, the trumpets play loud, and we all welcome King Corbin to the royal court.
Lovely.
Lovely. King Corbin
could be his jester. We can get Gable like the little jester hat, and he could just be his jester, and that'll be fun. It's a good second place trophy.
Now I can see a world where they have Gable win this match, but again, to what end? To what end? How many underdog storylines can you run in WWE when you have Kofi, who's the centerpiece of one, and then you have Gable on the SmackDown side? Like, you can't run that story. Whereas having just Baron Corbin, I mean, like Baron Corbin being King of the Ring, it just makes so much sense from like, it is easy heat but it is solid heat. It is good heat.
Makes all the sense in the world.
Makes all the sense in the world. So, of course, it means that Gable's going to win because they never do anything that makes all the sense in the world.
Correct.
So, man, long running episode today. We've been talking for almost 2 hours.
Lots to talk about.
True. Getting ever closer. So one more quick question for you guys. Give me one thing when NXT comes to USA that you don't want to see happen with NXT in particular.
I don't want to see NXT get swallowed up by Raw and SmackDown, where they basically just take all of their storylines and characters and pull them from NXT and ruin the product, essentially. NXT needs to stand alone. NXT needs to be its own entity, be its own show, be the third main show. I want that to happen. I don't want it to be still looked at as guys getting called up. Let guys just stay there. Let guys get sent from show to show, draft to show. And I'm concerned it's going to get swallowed up by the other two shows when it goes to live television. I just hope it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I agree with Tiro. I hope that, like you said, I hope it doesn't get buried. And it's such a good product as it is right now that I hope the draft doesn't mess it up. When we get to that point in time, if they even do add NXT to the draft, which I don't even know if they've kind of mentioned it. I mean, I know it's probably in there, but
it's like,
yeah, I hope they keep their storylines going. That, yeah, they might inject some other guys from what we deem the main roster of Raw and SmackDown into it and everything. But yeah, I hope it doesn't turn into like, now you're the redheaded stepchild of the other two shows.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with two of them, but my main one's gonna be the second one. The first one is, I think, the obvious one, which is Vince McMahon, stay away from NXT, please. Thank you.
Ding, 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 ding.
It runs well the way that it is. Yeah, maybe it doesn't make you a whole lot of money because you have it on the network, but it'll start making you money. So, but just leave it alone. Don't do that panic mode thing where you steer stories away because, oh, the ratings aren't good enough. Like, just let it do what it does and it will get popular. No problem. But my most important thing that I don't want to see happen with NXT coming to the mainstream is don't change how you pick the soundtrack for your takeovers. They always pick the best music for takeover, and they always pick the worst music for like the mainstream pay-per-views. There's always like some pop song for the mainstream pay-per-view, and it's always like some metal song for the NXT takeovers. I like that. Keep that the way that it is. It's a small one, a weird one, but you know.
Typical for you.
Hey. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. Wherever and however you are listening, we appreciate you taking your time to listen to us talk about something that we love. We would appreciate any likes, subscribes on any of the platforms that you're listening to us on. Tell your friends about us, comment in the videos, tell us something you'd like us to talk about. Disagree with us, pick fights with us. I'd love to have a little bit of banter go on with the audience and stuff like that. So, but the most important thing is that I think I speak for all of us when we say anybody listening, we appreciate that you're listening.
And we are on Facebook now, so check us out there if you haven't already. At the Bald Monkeys Podcast is our page name there. So check us out there and write something. Somebody challenge us. Do you think you know better than us? Tell us. Come on.
Well, they've got to know better than me. I bet you the people at home probably pick pay-per-views better than I do.
It beat me to it.
The plight of Big Baby Jimmy. Well, I'm Big Baby Jimmy. We got Christopher. We got Captain Chuckles. We don't have the boss anymore, but he was on earlier. From all of us, we say thank you for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Clash of Champions, King Corbin.
King Corbin.